Extensive missile and drone attacks by Russia have been directed towards the port and grain infrastructure in southern Ukraine. NATO remained passive as Russia launched an attack on the Danube port, located just 200 meters away from Romania. The attack involved Russian kamikaze drones that caused significant destruction to port infrastructure and even injured civilians within close proximity to Romania's territory. Despite the heightened air, land, and sea operations by Russia along the southeastern Ukraine and Romania-Ukraine border during July, NATO failed to prevent Russian military strikes so dangerously close to the territory of a NATO nation. In this offensive, Russia specifically targeted the Ukrainian Danube River port cities of Izmail, Reni, and Kali with a series of kamikaze drone strikes. These attacks resulted in the destruction of freight handling facilities, causing severe damage to silos, igniting tons of stored grain, and ruining port equipment. What's noteworthy is that this was the first time in Russia's 17-month-long war on Ukraine that the Kremlin had launched an attack on Ukrainian riverine ports. This escalation added to the ongoing missile and drone bombardment already taking place against the major Ukrainian port city of Odesa, located on the Black Sea, which had been happening for several months. Prior to these Russian strikes, the three Danube ports had been the only routes through which Ukraine could still export grain by sea. This follows Russia's withdrawal from an agreement that ensured safe passage for grain shipments across the Black Sea. The attacks have specifically targeted Ukraine's grain facilities in Odesa and other cities, resulting in the destruction of over 60,000 tons of grain and significant damage to the grain export infrastructure. The agreement, brokered by Turkey and the UN in July 2022, allowed cargo ships to transport millions of tons of grain to and from Ukrainian ports via a designated corridor in the Black Sea. Additionally, it granted the Russian Navy the authority to inspect ships for weapons at the entrance to the Black Sea and the Bosphorus Strait. Since Russia pulled out of the deal, over 32 million tons of grain have been shipped from Ukraine, leading to a sharp increase in global wheat prices. Russian President Vladimir Putin has expressed willingness to return to the agreement but has set conditions, including the lifting of sanctions on the sales of Russian grain and fertilizers, as well as the reconnection of Russia's agricultural bank to a global payment system. Despite these developments, Russian airstrikes on Black Sea coastal cities persist, resulting in more than 20 people being wounded in cities like Odesa and Mykolaiv. Russia has declared that it will consider ships heading for Ukrainian ports as potential military targets, and the U.S. has accused Russia of placing more sea mines near Ukrainian port approaches.